Timothy.
So, yesterday I talked with the other classes about what I would do for Relic and Reliquary, okay? So I went through and I talked about I went through the worksheet as if I was answering it, and I realized that I said dance multiple times in mine. So here I have a couple of sketches that I did this morning, and I have two dancers, and I talked about how I would put a dancer inside of a boombox, okay? So I drew my boombox from different angles so I could figure out how exactly I was going to make it, and in addition to that, where exactly I wanted to cut it so one piece could come off of the other. Okay? So yesterday we talked about how you can construct the slab pieces. I wanted to show you personally how I would construct the boombox, okay? So I would take and separately make my dancing figure and figure out how to make it stand, because I'd probably make this one, which is way more complicated, okay? Because I have to figure out how they're going to do that balancing act, okay? Because that is a hand and not a foot. Yes. Okay. So I already, what you're going to do is roll out these slabs. I know you heard me throwing them on the board. You're going to roll them out. It'll make sure that they're even, okay? Throwing slabs we can do another time for fun, but we're not going to do it right this moment for this project, okay? So the first thing, who remembers what the first thing in the video he did yesterday was?
Cut them.
He did. He took them up to the edge, and he angled the fettling knife and cut across, okay? Now, this does not need to be perfect. As you can tell, mine is not, okay? But you do need to be able to make some sort of angle on it. So I'm going to do that with this one. And I'm also going to do it with, I don't know why I did that, I didn't need to. Then I'm also going to do it with this one. So I'm also going to take and cut across here at an angle, because I'm going to attach these two together, okay? One thing that's really important, because I'm about to stand this wall up like this, this is still pretty plastic, which means it's not dry enough or stiff enough yet, okay? So what I'm going to do in order to make sure it doesn't collapse, I'm actually already going to start getting ready to attach this one so I don't have to worry about this wall falling over. So I'm going to actually attach both of these first, and then I'm going to put this wall on, okay? So in order to do that, I'm going to cut off two sides of this one, and I also need to cut off the two sides here. So that one. This one. You know what I forgot to grab? Can someone grab me a serrated rib tool?
I got it.
Thank you. I knew I was going to forget one tool. So when you do this, it is important to make sure that you are getting these angles in and that they're somewhat even. Thank you. Okay. So those cuts have been made. So what I'm going to do then is score along this angle here, and also score this one. Yes. Maybe. Yeah, that one. Okay. So I'm going to score that way. I'm just going to score both just in case, because I'll probably forget which way it's supposed to go. Okay. What did I forget already? No. I need to cut this one actually on these sides. It doesn't. You should cut it at about a 45-degree angle. I just moved that, so that's not helpful. At least a 45, because if you do 45 and 45 is 90, which is what this is going to sit at. It's going to sit at a 90-degree angle. And then you can actually use this excess I just cut off, because I talked to you guys yesterday about how we're going to add a coil to it on the inside. So I can actually take and keep this and not throw it away, so I don't have to worry about any of that. Okay, so this is scored. It's ready to go. I'm going to take and add the slip. Make sure that you're not just grabbing water. We have a tendency, in general, just anyone, to try to just get the water part of the slip. You actually need that clay, because that will help join it a lot better. So it'll actually create that bond. So yesterday he attached it here and then wiggled it back and forth. That helps lock it into place. If you don't do this, you'll see that it will start to collapse, okay? It would not stay attached if it was that way. Okay. Now, for anyone on this side, you're going to have a really hard time seeing what I'm about to do, so you might want to move over here. Or actually, no, I can turn it afterwards, so you can hang out there. Taking this coil, okay, I'm going to take and put it into this seam and smooth it out along here, okay? Now, I'm going to show them before I finish doing it. So that's what that seam looks like, okay? So I just put a small coil in there and I started smoothing it out. What I did not do is finish smoothing it out the rest of the way, okay? So you're actually going to want to go back and make it a very, very small, thin coil. You shouldn't necessarily see the fact that it was a rounded coil to begin with, okay? You can. If it does happen, it happens. But you should be working with this when it's still in the plastic stage, so you should be able to make sure it doesn't look rounded. Okay. This isn't the prettiest on this outside here, but I can always go back and fix that. That's not something I have to do right at this moment, because once it stiffens up, it's going to be easier to clean that and make it a sharper edge. Okay? So, I'm going to do this other side here. What else do we need to keep in mind while we do all of this? Anything? I would keep in mind the people around you. Make sure that when you're wedging and rolling things out that you're not hitting into other people's stuff. Your responsibility in this class is to get your work done. So if you're messing with other people's pieces and not working on your own, that is a problem, because these are individual grades in this class, okay? So make sure that you're focusing on what you're doing. Cool. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and put this other coil in here. And I totally didn't look at the time, because we should have timed how fast I can do this. Okay. I could. It's only been 7 minutes. Now, I did roll all this out earlier, so keeping that in mind, it didn't actually take me 7 minutes to do all of this, because I rolled it all out. Okay. So the next thing I would do, I have my two walls up. They're standing pretty sturdy. I'm going to go ahead and cut the angle on this as well. It's easier to do it on an edge because you can angle it the way you want. Please be careful. The fettling knives are not sharp, but you can still hit yourself with them, and it's not going to be pleasant, okay? So score these parts and then add slip. Okay. So then our final piece is going to go right here for right now. Okay, now, we all know that I asked you guys to make something that comes off, right? Yeah. So that is still a part of this assignment and this project. What have you noticed so far about what I said I was going to do with mine? So I'm going to put the dancer in. If you look at my sketch, I actually drew a line across this right here at an angle going down. So my plan is to actually take and be able to take it apart in half. Okay? What didn't I do just now? I didn't cut it. So I'm actually going to wait until this stiffens up a little bit before I even try to incise it. The reason why, we've talked about shrinkage of clay. We don't want the clay to shrink, so we don't want to work on one half and get all that nice and pretty and then work on the other half of what goes together. If you do that with a lid, the piece that you're making will dry, and then you make the lid will be bigger. Or it could be smaller, depending on how fast it dries. So you want to make these at the same times, so that way they can have the same dry rate. So that way they actually fit together. If you're going to make a lid that sits on top, we're going to have to talk about making a register, so that way it can sit in there without falling off or sliding off, okay? Some of you guys did that with the last piece. I don't know if this class made any lids, but I know other classes did, and so they had to worry about that. And I can show you what those looked like so you can get an idea, okay? But this is where we're starting for this project, okay? So this is why it's important to know your dimensions. Before you guys came in, I rolled out the slabs, and then I cut out my template. So I know that this is 4 inches all the way across, and that this is 4 by 9. No, it's not. Maybe. I didn't actually measure this side. I just measured the 4 inches. Okay. So that's something to keep in mind and think about. You need to know how big you're making your piece. So I know how big to make my relic that goes inside now that I have my box. Okay. I still have to make 2 more sides to go here, and then the little top of the boom box before I go any further. Okay. So, anyone have any questions? We understand? We got it? Sweet. It's always good to have a review and a refresher. So go ahead and take a seat, and I want you to continue working on your sketches. I will walk around to talk with you about what you need to do specifically. Also, you should construct these on those other wooden boards that we have. I just tried picking mine up, and it really didn't want to do that, so keep that in mind. Okay. So this, hold on 1 second. So this is putting the clay into the crease. Like that. And continuing to smooth it out so that way you can. This reinforces the walls and will keep them together. So it's important that you press them into the walls and making sure not to warp the walls. So I'm holding my hand on the other side to make sure that when I press into it that it does not warp and buckle my wall on the outside. Okay.